Whew. Alright guys, I just arrived in Lisbon yesterday night, and this is my first day out on the town. I'm currently on Castelo de Jorge, Jorge, which I think is Portuguese for Castle of St. George, if I had to guess, and it's a spectacular view up here. Yesterday also marks the beginning of my solo trip. I'm now completely by myself. I'm just gonna talk and walk around this beautiful castle with you guys. Kind of at the top right now on the barricades, so it's not as cool up here, but you get a nice view of these pipes because that's what you want to see. So yeah, first official day of being completely alone on my travels. I've been alone before, but Portugal is a little bit different because I'm not meeting anybody. It's just me out here, and it will be just me until I get to Paris, until I see a friend in Paris. But other than that, that's about it for a while there. A couple of destinations. I'm going to Lisbon, and I'm going to Ponta Delgada, which is in the Azores. And right now, I'm just enjoying how beautiful Lisbon is. It's colorful. And filled with people. It's very lively, and yet still remains to be authentic. My tour guide, because when you travel alone, a good thing to do is to do tours. I found a free walking tour. My bunkmate in the hostel said she was going to do it, so I tagged along, and it was very much worth it because it gave me a history of Portugal and Lisbon specifically. He showed me around some of the neighborhoods, and he told me where to get some food. So later today I'm going to have some bacalhau, which is something I'm very excited about. Don't eat meat! Mama, you eat bacalhau! No, seriously, bacalhau is codfish. For those of you who don't eat Portuguese food on a regular basis, but I'm really excited for that. And I also found a jazz club, apparently, that I will go to because I have a Portuguese uncle who used to play jazz all the time. So that will be an interesting thing to do. There's a little cafe here. You know, there's a lot to see in this little busy pair. The Portuguese speak pretty good English, actually. Not everybody, you know, it's like most places in Europe, it's spoken but not well known. I myself am trying to learn the basic phrases of Portuguese. It's a good thing to know phrases when you travel. It just makes things a little bit easier. A good way to do that is through Duolingo. It's a little app on your phone and works really well. Hold on, let's get through these people. Hope this guy isn't following me. Yeah, very nice. Very pretty here. Yeah, let's see if we can get a nice view of the city from here. So yeah, Duolingo is a good way because it's free. It has a lot of languages, and you can, take a couple lessons. It goes much deeper than the basics, actually. You can learn the whole language, really, if you spend the time on it. It's like free Rosetta Stone, in my opinion. It's a really good app. I recommend it for any traveler who's going to be in a place for a while or just wants to know. My hostel is directly over there. It's across the way from this church without a roof. And an important thing to know about Lisbon is that in 1755 there was an earthquake that hit 9.0 on the Richter scale, which is that's pretty crazy, honestly, and lasted 9 minutes and destroyed most of the city. And if it wasn't the earthquake, it was the fire that ensued, and then the tsunami that came. So Lisbon had a tough time in 1755, and much of it is just being rebuilt, piece by piece. Yeah, this is remarkable. One thing that my guide did point out is that Lisbon has become popular, well, Portugal itself has become popular as a tourist destination, really, because it got discovered, for one, and two, it's because it's kept a lot of its authenticity. A lot of places that I've went to aren't very well, they're not as authentic as they used to be. I think Robert De Niro once said that Italy has changed, but Rome is Rome, and you could see that very much. Italy isn't the same as the postcards post it. Britain is very modern. Germany is changing all the time. Even Greece, got very, very touristy in places. And this place is touristy, yes, but it's not stupid touristy. There's a couple touristy areas, but they're not very big and they don't stretch out very far, and you don't really feel like you're in a huge touristy area. When you're walking through these streets, you really feel like you're in a more authentic destination. Man, this is cool. So traveling alone, I imagine a lot of you are curious about that. It's something that most people dread. A lot of people, never even buy one-way tickets in their lives, I've found. But traveling alone isn't as bad as you think. Like I said, there's a couple of things that you can do to make it a little bit more social and a little bit more easy. One of the first things you can do is what I did this morning, which is to do a tour or a group activity. There are tons of these. Mine was free, but I'm sure there's plenty around that you could find. And that's a good way to start things off. Hostels are pretty good. This morning I had breakfast with like 8 other people. I didn't really talk to any of them, to be honest, but I could have. I was just tired, really. Still waking up. So hostels are a good way to meet people. Tours are another great way to meet people. I've heard of people doing a Waikiki tour throughout Europe, which is like a 45-day maximum tour, and you pay an upfront price, and then they cover the rest. I think you pay for like a couple of meals or something, and then you just go with a fixed large group of people, and you just tour everything. In Australia, I did something called New Zealand. I did something called Stray Tour, which is a hop-on, hop-off bus. It's a little bit more in depth than just that, and that was a great way to meet people. I met a lot of people on that, actually. So for touring alone, there are lots of opportunities and lots of different ways to just be in a group, and that's kind of just what it takes. You just put yourself in a group, and most people are pretty friendly. Most people will just say something to you, and you can kind of run with it. We as Americans have an advantage because we're just naturally friendly people, so it's easy to meet other Americans. Also, wearing a American ball hat is a good way to meet other Americans. And I say meet other Americans mainly because they're other English speakers. I found that in this trip it's difficult to make friends who don't speak English very well for obvious reasons. And in that sense, I've mainly made friends with English speaking. There are some countries that speak English very well. For example, the Dutch. I've met a lot of Dutch friends, and they speak English very well, which makes it very easy. You have to understand that these countries, their languages are very small. They're not very well spoken. Spanish and Portuguese are an exception to that, but Dutch, even French, isn't that well spoken. So a lot of the travelers will learn English to an extent. So that's one thing about traveling alone, is just put yourself in group situations and you'll find other people. I've known people that have just stumbled upon other people and then embarked on 2-month journeys with each other. It's not a very uncommon thing to do. So it may sound like you're traveling alone for all this time, but it's very, very easy to meet other people. And maybe you do just want to be alone for some time, and the advantage of traveling alone is that you stay completely by yourself. Whenever you want, you can do whatever you want and go wherever you want, whenever you want. A lot of people think that you can do this in group travel as well. It just doesn't work out the way you want it to. There's a lot of advantages to group travel, such as splitting costs, sharing memories. You can have a lot of fun no matter where you are because you're always with somebody. And if you like them, you can just have fun with the person you're with.